spool and then added a lot of free floating butterflies all around her. In your kits, you will have a spool, some lace trim, a sheet of lots of butterflies, and then both the single girl and the two girls together. And everything is cut to be mirror images. So when we get them onto the stand, it's going to look the same front and back. Yeah, you do have the wires here, but it just gives it a more finished look. So you can choose whichever one you want to make today. Since I've already made the single girl, I'm going to use the two girls together. Now, one thing that I noticed about this is that the dresses turned out to be kind of plain, and I thought, let's do something about that. So I found just a random little stamp in my collection. This is just some hearts, and I used the Distress Ink tea dye color and just kind of randomly put a little bit of pattern on there. So let me show you an easy way to do it. And again, it's going to be subtle. It's not going to be anything that we're trying to match or do anything, but use something to cover the legs if you don't want them patterned. And just kind of randomly, over here, I think I want to cover her arm. And then up here, let's cover their faces. And I'm just using a scrap that some of you may recognize from another project that I just did a video on. But there we go. We just have a little texture, a little more interest. The color goes perfectly with the butterflies. And we can set that aside and it will be ready. On the spool, I've already painted mine just with black acrylic paint, and it does take a couple coats, so you'll want to do that in advance. But what you can see from the sample is I also kind of splattered it with some gold paint. If you've got a spray that you'd like to use or something with more texture, that would be fine too. But an easy way to just add some interest with supplies you probably already have. I'm using just a gold metallic acrylic paint from one of the big box stores, and give it a shake. Put the tiniest bit on that's just a piece of wax paper. I'm doing this on parchment paper because I had that out in the kitchen. But if you just take your spool, lay it down, I'm gonna just kind of add a bit of water to my brush. And let's get some paint on it. And then just really as you can see, there's really no wrong way to do it. You'll know when you'll want to stop. And the nice thing with the spool is that what you've already done isn't going to sit. A little bit on the top. Flip this over and add a few more speckles on there. So just whenever you want to quit on this, I might do a little bit more on this section here. You've just added another layer of interest just by a few splashes of paint. So let's set that aside to dry. And let me get this out of the way. Now, I used a glue gun almost exclusively for this, and what you'll want to find in your kit is your little ribbon holder of very thin wire, and there's about 42 inches of the wire. So we're going to just kind of measure off 8 inches and then fold it back and forth so that you've got 6 strands of about 8 inches a piece. So I guess you have 48 inches of wire. And then take some wire cutters, or if you have some strong kitchen scissors, they would certainly work with wire this thin. And just kind of clip these all apart at the top and bottom. And you can see they were a little wrinkly when we took them off the spool, and that's going to be just fine. Now take one of them, doesn't matter which one. The shortest one will work, and this is actually going to be the one that holds everything together, and the one that the girls are going to set on, because you see they sit down pretty close to the base. So if you hold your wrapper one here, and this will be the part that the girls are attached to, and just wrap this around the rest of the bundle. This is going to kind of keep them all together as we glue them into the center of the spool. Now, by trial and error, I learned that it would be much easier to get these sorted out and wrapped. You can see, going back to the sample, that these have some little twists in them, and it's going to be much easier to do that before we have it glued in and have some butterflies on it. So if you just want to take a pencil or anything straight, that'll help straighten these out to start, and then just give them a little bend. You can see all you want is just some interest in the wires, and I'm going to straighten them out. Wrap, wrap, wrap. So we're going to have 5 that will have butterflies on them, and then 1 is the base for the girls. So that's going to be my shortest one here. Get these. And this one here. I'll put it way up. Okay, so you can see how it's coming together. These are going to be where the butterflies are. This is the base for the girls to sit on, and this is going to be inside our spool. So let's just see if we've got, if we need to make any adjustments. Okay, so what I noticed here is that I've got it wrapped kind of high. So let's undo some of that so that we're not having to go so deeply into the spool. And I think that might be just about what we need. So none of this down here is going to show, but so let's get this glued together. So sit it on something that you don't care about glue sticking to, that you're just going to throw away. And we're going to take our glue gun and really just fill up the center of the spool. I'll grab another stick here. Now, before it gets all the way to the top, I want to stop because this is going to displace some of it. So let's get this in the middle, get it all the way down to where the wrapping stops. And let's let that set up for a minute and see if we need to add some more glue. What you want to do is straighten it off on the bottom here, just so it will sit flat. And of course, pick the hot glue off that's stuck to your fingers. So just trying to get this off so that it's nice and flat. Now let's see what we have here. So we've got one that we didn't curl, so that's going to be for the girls to set on. And then we've got these that now we can just kind of pull out and see how we want them to be positioned around. This one I would fold over and just give it a little more of a base, because now we're going to put our girls on there. So I'm using the 2 double ones. And again, remember, they are mirror images, so you can just give them a little, and put some glue right on the back right here. Put that one wire in the center. Put the girls' feet on the ground here, just so that they're grounded on the spool, and match up the back Now we'll need a bit more glue as we get through here. And the other thing I might want to do is you might want to get that glue coming up one of their legs instead of in the middle space. But since we've got the glue gun, let's just tap a bit on their heads to get that together. And here, now we've got our girl centered on the one wire that we did not wrap, and with their feet sitting on the top of the spool. Now you can see they can easily move. Now we've got these 5 wires that we can put our butterflies on, and the butterflies also have front and backs to them. So I might start with one of the bigger ones, just find its mate and get a little bit of glue in the center of the butterfly, grab its mate in your hand, and then just position them both over the ends of a wire and hold it for a second as that glue sets up. Anything that's seeped out or has a little string on it, as soon as it cools, it's easy to take off. And we're just going to add the butterflies in a variety of sizes or patterns or shapes, the way directions they're facing, on these wires. Let's get, now just as I told you to be careful about that, I didn't pick up 2 that matched here, so watch for that because they are very similar but not identical. Let's see. These match. So a bit more glue in the center. Get its mate. Glue at the tip of the wire. Straighten them out, let it sit. We got 2 more to do, so I think I'll use let's see, those aren't a match, but these are. So a little bit of glue. Grab the mate, get it positioned at the end of the wire, and one more. I think we see what I have left over here. You'll have a lot to choose from. I'm using what was left over from the kits here, but these 2 match up. So let's do this. And let's get this right on the end of this. So I hope as you're looking at this, you're thinking of other patterns that you might want to do. It doesn't have to be butterflies coming out. It could be birds if you had a pattern that you'd want to do, or it could be, you know, fireworks if that were something that you're thinking of doing. But so, hope you can see what was the problem with that one. It didn't have the wire actually in the glue. I was hoping it would stay long enough to get through the demo, but it didn't. So let's get that done. So now let's turn around and look at the front. You can see here's our girls. Get her sitting up here. Here's the butterflies. You can pull them out some if you want them taller or how you want them to be positioned. You can bring them around to the front if you want some going that way. Let me see where this is easiest for you to see. So now what we have left is our little piece of lace that's going to go around the top. And now that I'm doing this, I think it'd probably have been easier had we done that before we did the girls on top, but we're just going to run a tiny little bead of glue around the very top of the spool and decide what's going to be our front and back, so we can start the seam at the back and just run this around. Till we get to overlap. Straighten it out here so that it's flush with the top of the spool, and maybe one more little dab of glue right here to seal this. And then after that dries, I'd cut that off. I don't think I'll try to do it yet and have, because I want to pick off some of that glue when it's done. So now here we are. We're ready to add the saying, and the saying says, just like the butterfly, you must leave the old behind to begin anew and soar. So you can put this wherever you want. It could go down here on the spool. It could go up on the dresses. You've got more. It could actually go on some of these little wires if you'd want to do that. You would need to put a little backing on the other side though to hold it. I think this is dry now, so let's cut this little piece off here. And then just add a butterfly. Again, this was one that I kept as a double, even though part of it doesn't hardly show, but it just did. So let's see, these two match up. And so let me glue these together. Nice and lined up. And then just bend it in the middle. Add a tiny bit of glue on that outside fold. And add the butterfly right here. So you can see now the butterfly is visible as a butterfly from both the inside and the outside, or the top and the bottom. We've got the girls centered here. We've got the butterflies coming out, and then we've got our saying that we can either put on the dress or up on the wires here. So here's our project for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.